Now, we've already been discussing very much in detail the number one most outdated, useless sales technique that you must have learned from traditional sales training, which is to be excited like a fanatic and try to bring that excitement into the frame and destroy your sales calls. Today, we are going to be discussing the number two, very close in line, outdated sales training method that you probably learned from traditional sales persons, from people who were selling something 20 years back and probably haven't updated their skills. That could be your mentor, your company, or whatever, and how it is destroying your sales. Now, unlike reason number one, which is to be overexcited and try to and bring that excitement into the frame, you will probably know at that point that I'm losing sales. Prospects keep telling me that let me get back to you, let me think about it. Over a period of time, you pretty much realize, okay, there's something I'm doing wrong, what it is. But in this particular case, in the number two reason that we're going to talk about, you will never know what mistake you're making. You probably keep thinking you're doing the right thing. You do it more and more till the time you start offending prospects and end up looking like a complete fool. Probably it's going to take you many weeks or many months, and some prospect may probably turn you out of their house, or probably literally tell you, listen man, you're disrespecting me by doing this. And that's when you're going to realize, oh my god, I cannot believe that this thing was taught to me like a success technique, and it's going to destroy not only your sales calls, it is going to destroy your own self image and self respect. So let's unpack that. My name is Dr. Rajat Sinha, medical doctor turned sales strategist, and I started learning sales roughly about 25 years back, when I started doing a part-time commission selling business when I was still in medical college. And I can tell you that even 20 years back, this technique was starting to get a little outdated. Why is that? Because the internet was there, attention spans were already getting reduced, and prospects were getting smarter and smarter by the day, simply because the internet is a great equalizer. And then later, after the mobile revolution that started in 2010, I mean, today prospects are smarter than you, and the attention spans are at a bare minimum. You cannot afford to be using some outdated techniques which don't, not only they don't work, but they actively offend the prospects. They insult their intelligence, and they're an absolute disaster to your sales career. So we're going to be talking about that. And the technique that I am going to be disclosing, before that, let me just make a quick request. If you're getting value from these videos, I go very much in depth. I don't hold anything back. These videos are not just surface level stuff. I have made probably more than 40 or 50 videos only about handling a 20 to 30 minute sales call. It's very, very in depth. If you're getting value, please subscribe to this channel. Please share it with somebody who might need it. And once you subscribe, there'll be a bell icon so you can get alerted to the new videos. If you watch my videos as soon as they're released, that really helps me in my YouTube rankings, and I would be truly grateful to you. Okay, it doesn't cost you anything, but to me it'll mean the world. Please subscribe to this channel and just switch on the bell icon so you can watch my videos as soon as they come out. Okay, let's go ahead. So now let's talk about what is this second technique that is going to be that's going to be totally destroy your sales calls, and it is called assumptive close. It is called assumptive sale, which is assume that the sale is closing. And usually what probably your mentor, your company probably would have taught you, because if you're working with a company that is teaching you sales, then chances are these trainings are very, very outdated, because sales education is very difficult to update. So most companies are using age old methods. So a lot of people say, hey, assume the sale. And typically in assumptive sales, what they're teaching you is, after a while during the sales call, instead of saying, if you buy this product, you start saying, hey, when you have actually installed this product, then this is going to help you do that. And every objection that the prospect gives, you say, okay, once you have installed this product, this is going to do that. And this kind of worked very, very well probably 20, 30 years back, because it worked like kind of a future pacing. A prospect would say, okay, and they start imagining what the product would do for them. But back in the day, there was not a whole lot of information out there, and information technology industry just did not exist. So if people had problems, they were dependent on salespeople to educate them, and they did not have a way to research it themselves, especially before the internet and stuff like that. But after the internet was in full swing, prospectors started educating themselves. Plus, because of Facebook ads, Google ads, etc., people may be browsing for something they don't need, and then an ad pops up that educates them about stuff that they haven't thought about. So they're constantly getting educated, and they're getting smarter and smarter. So today, if a salesperson comes in, they probably know more than you, and you kind of trying to assume that prospects are going to use your product and answering all their objections with an assumptive answer. It sounds too high pressure, and prospects don't like it. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show you on a map exactly how these assumptive processes work, and I want to give you an alternate way. Even if you want to do assumptive selling, I want to give you a totally alternate way to use it. I'm going to change the formula for you, and then I'm going to tell you the 3 critical pointers that you need to be keeping in mind if you want to be using these techniques. Okay, so don't just use techniques just because some book mentioned it like 20 years back or something like that. These things can be a time bomb, and if you're working on commission, that means if your earning is coming only after you sell the product, you're not getting a salary from the company or something like that, or you're getting a very low salary, then you need to be very, very careful about how you treat your prospects, because a relationship is for a lifetime, even if the prospect says no. So make sure not to offend people and offend their intelligence, and yeah, don't destroy that. Okay, so let's go over here to the screen. Very, very simple. You can see I have 2 grids already created on my screen. One is the grid of a sales call. I'm just going to walk through the sales call about how traditional assumptive sales work. And then I'm going to give you an alternate method of how I would do it in a Mad Money script format. And then I'm going to give you 2 or 3 pointers that you need to be very, very aware of. Okay. So let's open up this first grid. Usually what happens is that traditional sales training works on very, very superficial Q&A. They just talk about, hey, what is your problem? Okay, when do you want to solve the problem? They suddenly give the solution. Okay, these scripts work on diluted commitments from the prospect, which means you ask the prospect, hey, do you have the problem? They say yes. Okay, do you want to solve the problem? Yes. Okay, and then they just start giving the solution. Many people don't even bother to ask the one critical question, which is, when would you like to get started? Just the basic. Are you willing to make a commitment? Do you have the budget? They don't go into that at all. Forget about a deep emotional commit. Okay, so very, very superficial level Q&A, and as soon as the prospect just blinks, these traditional sales scripts are going deep inside and just causing a lot of damage. Okay, next, you mention the product somewhere halfway down the call, where you say, hey, we can do this. You may not mention the name of the product, but you start future pacing with your product, saying, hey, we do this, and when you work with us, we can start doing this, etc. So you start assuming that we are already working together. And then right after this, you mention the product, every other FAQ or every other objection the prospect has, you just barrage down like a maniac, just telling them, hey, yeah, once you install the product, this is going to happen. Once you do this, this is going to happen. I'm always going to be there to help you. Listen, man, there was no talk of money. There was no talk of a transaction. There was no talk of a commitment. And there was no talk of a deep enough emotional investment from the prospect into either this call or any future particular engagements. So this is very, very surface level stuff. It just kind of talks about a technique. It's just like trying to become a surgeon by reading some basic comic books or something like that. Okay, it doesn't work like that, man. So especially in today's format, just go with the assumption that every prospect is smarter than you. If you just go with that, man, you'll already have so much higher closing rates. Okay, so so that's my, sorry about that. That's my that's my 2 cents. Let's go to the new grid. Okay, what is the new grid that I propose? How we do it is, we do first of all start with deep Q&A. Deep Q&A. We keep on asking questions. Of course, we try not to be intrusive. There's a way to asking consultative questions, but we do try to go about absolutely to the source of the problem, which could be 20 years back, 25 years back. So if you're sitting in front of a prospect who's 30 years old, 35, 40 years old, the problem when it started for them could be going way, way back. Okay, and that applies to health products, that applies to financial products, that applies to deep mindset, childhood trauma, things that they have seen and felt in their childhood, which is causing the pattern that is causing the problem in the first place. We go way back, we ask lots of questions, and one of the techniques we use is like 5 whys, just drilling down into why till you come into the absolute deep emotional rooting of the problem. Okay, I won't go deep into that, but I've just covered some of that in the different other videos. Okay, so first of all, we believe in deep Q&A. Second, what we do is, we halfway down the call, we reinforce and edify the prospect for their decisions. Remember, nobody's coming to you brand fresh. You're not the biggest cat in the world that suddenly people who's had problems are suddenly coming to you at the first point solution. They have probably tried things before. They probably researched it before. They probably worked with somebody else before, and things have not worked out for them. And at this point, what you're going to do is, you're going to reinforce and edify. You're going to say, first of all, I thank you very much for being here in front of me, because so many people have this problem that you have, and they just push it under the rug. They never take a step to actually solve it. So the fact that you invested 20 minutes with me, It just means that you're a champion, man. You're already a champion. If you can do this, you can just do anything else. Okay. Plus, if they have already faced some failures in the past, you say, listen, man, this is a totally normal journey. In fact, anybody who goes down this route, first of all, they try a couple of superficial things. And once they realize that the superficial thing will have superficial result, that is when they start looking for deeper solutions. And I'm so glad that you're here in front of me, because that means that you have gone through that journey of trying a couple of things. Probably some of the things worked out and did not work out in the long term. That's why you're sitting here. So what I'm doing is I'm making sense of their previous journey. I'm not trying to say, hey, you made a mistake, you shouldn't have tried that other thing, my thing is better, I am better, we are the best. Nothing like that. I say this is totally cool. I remember when I got started like you, I had a similar journey. I failed a couple of times, and that's totally normal, because that just strengthens your resolve. And now that you're sitting in front of me, I can say that you are a champion in my eyes, my friend. Okay, so I'm going to reinforce and edify. This happens round about halfway through the call. Okay, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce something called a vehicle. Now see, just match these grids. On the left I'm saying mention the product, on the right side I'm going to say introduce the vehicle, which means I'm going to just introduce the basic idea on which my product works. Okay, so if you're into selling any kind of team building or any kind of affiliate marketing kind of a side hustle gig, then it works on time compounding. So you got to first sell that concept, just figure out how to sell that concept. If you're working with a health product or something, you're going to sell metabolic optimization as a concept. So without mentioning the actual product, you just mention to them the actual underlying mechanism because of which your product exists. And this mechanism is something that they can actually research themselves. Like metabolic optimization is not something that is unheard of. They can go to YouTube and research it themselves. Time compounding or time arbitrage is a basic, very well-known concept that every company in the world uses. So you got to just figure out how to give them some value at this point, which they can go and research themselves. Now, when you actually give them this value and you mention the one variable, the one new point of information that you've introduced over here is just the vehicle. That's it. You've not gone ahead and told them 20,000 things and nothing like that. Okay. At this point, they may have some further questions, and you handle the questions. Hey, how does this work? How does that work? How does this happen? And you just answer the question and you say, yeah, basically the way it works is like this, the way it works like that. Okay, just normal Q&A. Okay, but handle it from the point of view of the vehicle, which is you got to defend the vehicle, because if you can defend the vehicle, you can defend your product later. There's no need to defend your product because they already sold. Okay, now what do you do next? Right towards the end of the call, prospect is going to ask slightly more deeper FAQs. They're going to say, hey, I have this barrier. Hey man, I have this issue, and over here you're going to start future pacing. Okay, you're going to start future pacing. You can also do some bait and switch over here. What does that mean? Some prospect is going to say, hey man, I want to lose weight. Perfect. And what is it that you did earlier that didn't help you lose weight? Well, I signed up for a gym and then I could never go. So now you got to change the goalpost. So you say, I commend you for signing up for the gym. So basically what you're saying is that you have a time problem. So if the time problem could be sorted, then basically you will be able to achieve the goal, because I can see you already have commitment. You signed up for a gym. So you have commitment. They say, yeah, actually, if I had more time, I can fix it. Okay, so now the vehicle has changed. The vehicle is no longer the knowledge or the information that they want. The vehicle is the time that they need opened up. So you got to change the vehicle. You may need to do a little bit over here, because all of this Q&A and all of this discussion is now happening in a collaborative format. You haven't introduced any threatening idea like your product or something in here. You haven't introduced any kind of hostile environment like an assumptive selling over here. You just introduce a vehicle, and the vehicle is wrong. You just introduce a new vehicle, and then they say, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then you can just future pace. You can say, well, if time is the problem, then how would it be if or if I could help you with some ideas, like how long would it take for you to actually introduce them into your schedule? So you're asking something called over here an if I would you question. So before you future pace, you always I ask an if I would you question. If I could help you out with some ideas, like how much time will it take for you to introduce them or imbibe them in your daily schedule? So you're getting micro commitments over here from the prospect throughout the time, and you're not giving information. Remember this. On the left, you have superficial Q&A and diluted commitment. On the right, you have vehicle-specific FAQs and then future pacing, and future pacing with very good commitment levels. So you're going to be like, if I asked you to do this, would you be able to do it? And they say yes. During this time, you're providing a lot of value, because you're allowing the prospect to discover their own behavioral traits. See, people don't fail because they have less information, or because they're working with an inferior product or an inferior guide or something like that. People fail because the previous guide or the previous product actually missed the main point, either missed the whole point, or they were unable to figure out behaviorally how to keep the prospect consistent on the goal. That is the reason most people fail, man. Very simple. So now you're going to be able to first of all figure out what is the real bottleneck, and then you're going to work to get the commitments from the prospect to open up the bottleneck. Very simple. Till this time, there is no mention of the product. The only variable you have introduced is the vehicle. So learn enough about your product to understand what are the different vehicles that can be introduced at different points. Okay, I am a sales coach. If somebody says, this is my product, how can you help me sell it? I first ask them how many leads they have and what is their usual conversion rate. If I know that they don't have leads, then my vehicle changes. So now they need to have more leads, because sales coaching doesn't really work unless you have leads. Okay, if they're getting leads and they think the leads are bad, then I got to introduce sales coaching. Okay, if they're working with the wrong product, I got to change the product, because there is no way in which superior sales skills is going to help you sell a highly competed product in a saturated market. So either the market needs to be looked at, or the sales needs to be looked at, or the lead gen needs to be looked at. Okay, so I've got different vehicles that I'm playing with, different balls I can juggle in the air, all customized to the prospect's needs. This is not some, I'm not trying to kind of take advantage of the prospect over here or anything like that. Okay, I'm just trying to customize the discussion to their understanding so that they can see the path clearly. If they cannot see the path clearly, it doesn't matter what guarantees and what product I introduce into the situation. Okay, so it's not manipulative at all. In fact, it is customized, so prospects are going to thank you for it, even if they don't do business with you. Okay, just match that with the previous scenario. Some prospects will come back and fight with you even if the product is useful. In my scenario, which I call the express highway to mad money, prospects will thank you even if they don't do business with you, because you really helped them over here. Okay, so now this is what we call the express highway to mad money, and we play on the vehicle, and as you can see, the closing actually happens at the very end. Okay, in a traditional sales call, the closing is 50% of the game, and it's more like pushing something down the prospect's throat. And in mad money closing, you're getting the prospect to invest not only the time that they're spending with you, but also micro commitments along the way till the picture becomes very clear in their mind. And then you ask them a couple of if I would you questions, and if they say yes, I'm good to go, then all you do is wait for the time that they can say, okay, so what happens next, or what do I need to do now? Once the picture is fully clear in their mind, they don't know what exactly it is, but you've given them some ideas and you've done some future pacing, so they know, okay, this is how it's going to work. And they're committed behaviorally. They say, okay, I think I can do this. Like whatever you're asking me, I don't know what it is, but if you say I can do it in 4 hours a week and this is what I have to do, I think I can do it. Now, what is it? Okay. And at that point, they're going to ask you, so what do I need to do next? Or how should we proceed now? You're going to watch for that question. And once that question comes from the prospect, now is the time to close. At this point, probably 85% of the time call has already happened. 85% of the time allotted to the call has gone by. Okay, so if you have a 30-minute call, probably 24 minutes, 27 minutes have gone by. Now you're left with 3 to 5 minutes. That's more than enough to close the call. All you need to do is give them an offer, give them a guarantee, boom, give them a payment link, and they're in, man. They're all set. Okay, this is how you close. And sometimes, hey, even if prospect asks for a little more time on the call, they say, I don't want to leave you, man. you just added so much value. You seriously seem to know more about me than I know about myself. And they may ask for a little more time. They say, okay, I want to pay now, but I have a few other questions. And those will be the final buying question. They're called buyer's questions. They're more centered around terms and conditions rather than the actual or the product or the price. Okay, so you will know that, okay, this is home free. You can give them 5, 8, 10 minutes more. So if a 30-minute call turns into a 40-minute call, no problem, man. No big deal. Okay, I am into high ticket closing, and a 45-minute call routinely becomes 1 hour 25 minutes. That's totally cool, and I have it slotted on my calendar like that, because I know that usually prospects may want to hang around with me a little longer, just for the assurance, just to be in that state that, dude, I'm in the right hands. And I know that spending more time with the prospect is not going to lose me posture, because I have locked them in by asking that series of if I would you questions, getting the micro commitments in. Okay, and if they want some more information, FAQs, terms, conditions, some negotiation, no problem, man. They're totally cool. Okay, so this is how you handle it. Now I want to give you 3 simple things to keep track of Three simple things to keep track of that are really the holy grail, and this is really going to help you. Okay, first of all, remember, nobody buys anything unless there is a deep emotional compulsion. Nobody buys anything unless there is deep emotional compulsion. Hey, I want to lose my diabetes because diabetes is a problem. You say, okay, boom, and you go towards problem solving. No, diabetes by itself is not a problem. If it was a problem, 90% of the country wouldn't be having it in their homes. 90% of homes in India have somebody who's got some sugar problem. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, if there wasn't a deep emotional compulsion to solve the problem, there is no point in going for the sale. Okay, so you got to first drive into who has the deep emotional compulsion, and mostly you will find people will uncover inside themselves an emotional compulsion that they did not know that they have, but you help them uncover it, and that is going to bind them to you anyway. They're going to be like, wow, I didn't know I had this thing inside me that is driving me, and this person helped me uncover it. Now I'm more driven than I was. Now I'm more committed than I was, and I respect this guy for bringing this out of me. Okay, because personalized. Okay, people like that. Next, never start selling unless you have deep emotional compulsion. Next, never kind of focus too much on the product, rather focus on the granular behavioral analysis of the person himself, or herself, the prospect. Prospects have not been able to achieve results, not because it was the wrong prospect, wrong product or bad product they were working with, or the wrong coach or the wrong guide or whatever they were working with, wrong supplier. No, prospects haven't achieved results because they have deep behavioral inconsistencies, which is totally normal, very human, and your job is to figure out what is the thing driving that inconsistency, and once they are able to uncover that, then you work on that particular inconsistency rather than the product. Okay, and you don't need to make them feel on the spot about it. You're going to be constantly reinforcing and edifying them, saying, man, in spite of all of this, you have just kind of divulged to me that you are unable to make it. You've taken responsibility for it. I respect you so much, man, because unless you take responsibility for the things, nobody can help you. And you just told me that you are unable to take time to go to the gym. That really makes me respect you so much, because most people will probably blame an outside factor, but hey, you said you were unable to do it. That's amazing. So you're constantly edifying them for their journey. Okay, and they feel that whole reinforcement, and they're going to continue with you. Okay, next, so you have deep emotional compulsion, granular behavioral analysis, and next thing is you got to understand that there are two big fears that prevent the prospect from making a buying decision. Two big fears inside the prospect. The first one is losing money, which is a minor fear. The second one is losing face. Most people do not want to start their journey or restart their journey because they felt like a loser not achieving the results the first time. And this is a very normal fear. You cannot combat this fear by saying, don't worry about it, it doesn't work like that. Of course, I'm going to excite you, motivate you. That is a load of crap, disrespectful. Okay, needless excitement, motivation, and assumption. Total deal killers, man. Total time bombs in the sales call. Don't use them. Okay. Hey, there is always you should be the first one to bring up the fears. Hey, when I was on your journey, I felt horrible when I declared I'm going to have a six pack and actually didn't have a six pack after 3 months. A lot of people laughed at me. Who there in your life is likely to make you feel horrible if you don't achieve your goal? Okay, so you should be the first one to uncover who is the person that's going to pull their leg, or who's going to be the person that's going to make them feel horrible. Could be their spouse, because they're going to spend money with you. So if they spend money with you and they don't achieve the result, maybe a little comment from their spouse here and there, maybe a little snigger from the spouse or somebody close to them here and there is going to totally destroy their confidence. You should know that, and you should be the first one to uncover that. Okay, in my particular business, a lot of people come and they say that I don't want to work with my. They say that I'm scared of trying new things, and I tell them, who in your life is going to make you feel bad? And they say, well, X, Y, and Z. Perfect. What if they never find out that you are doing this? What if you could just keep it secret? Well, how will that happen? They're going to see me working. I said, no, they won't see you working. Leave that to me. Okay, and then I share my own story. Hey man, I've been through this, etc., etc. And as a medical doctor, I felt horrible sometimes trying to do sales of nutrition supplements. I made me feel like an idiot. And half the reason why I failed in my early years was because that confidence was keeping me back. That fear of lack of face, losing face was keeping me back. And I share with them my own story. I say, well, I've delivered a method, or I have perfected a method where I'm going to make sure, man, you do this in privacy. That is one of the core tenets of our service or of my coaching or whatever. Okay. And it doesn't matter what it is, but what matters is that I have uncovered the fear first and I know how to fix it. It doesn't matter what the actual mechanism I'm going to be using later. They're not going to ask that. Okay. Because they feel comfortable with you, because you are the person who's getting stuff from deep inside their heart and bringing it out to notice even before they're ready to divulge it to you on a conscious basis. Okay. This is called real sales, my friend. Okay. And this is the new technique. And especially in an internet age, mobile age, people have very low attention spans. You got to grab their attention. You got to go deep inside them, make them feel everything that is about them, highly customized to their particular needs. They're going to love you for it. Okay. I hope this video was useful. Please let me know in the comments what else you would like to know. What are the topics I can make new videos for you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.